Well, America has just gone through the second biggest day of voting outside of November's presidential election, and Donald Trump won almost every contest on Super Tuesday. And while the focus has been on the Republican race, what has President Joe Biden been saying or not saying? Because he has once again claimed that he'll get into trouble for answering questions. To get into all of this and more, we're joined by host of the US Report, James Morrow. James, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
Straight into Super Tuesday. Nikki Haley has finally suspended her campaign. So we're officially in for, well, almost officially in for a Biden-Trump rematch.
Well, look, it looks like that right now, but there's still a long way to go here. You know, both Donald Trump and Joe Biden have issues, shall we say, that could still be hurdles before them, before they get to November. Donald Trump, of course, has all of these different legal challenges, which largely, you know, I think are starting to fall apart because this sort of leftist program of lawfare, of trying to use laws to keep him off the ballot instead of bringing a good candidate against him, is really falling apart. We saw that this week with the Supreme Court verdict 9-0 saying Colorado couldn't keep him off the ballot. Joe Biden, on the other hand, has a much bigger problem. You know, everywhere you go, you see these White House people and these surrogates for Biden saying, hey, don't believe what you see out there on the screen. He's really fine. He's doing great. There's no problem. Back in the Oval Office, he's got 7 games of chess going all at the same time, and he's beating everybody, you know, but we don't see it. He's got a huge problem because people are really concerned about his age, his ability, his competence, and they don't want to vote for him if they're going to say, well, he's not going to finish out a term. What are we going to be left with? Kamala Harris. And, you know, for all this talk about the economy, it's not doing that great for ordinary people. The world is a mess. And they look back at Donald Trump and they say, hey, things weren't that bad.
Well, look, Joe Biden is often hiding. Are we going to see a debate? We know that Donald Trump has challenged him to one. Is that going to eventuate?
There is absolutely zero chance, I can tell you that tonight, zero chance that there's going to be a debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden's handlers will barely let him go to a press conference without the questions being pre-selected and hand-picked among the press corps and him there with his notes so he knows what he's saying. We saw the last time he was in a really unscripted situation that was hostile. That was that thing a few weeks ago when he had the big press conference about the Her report, which said that he was, you know, mentally incompetent. And he said, I am mentally incompetent. And then he went and he mixed up Gaza and Mexico City.
Oh, it was so bad.
Or Egypt and Mexico City.
That was right, Egypt and Mexico City. Look, you mentioned he's always got his note cards with him. The White House press secretary was very defensive when she was asked this question by a reporter about why Joe Biden needs his note cards, especially when he's visiting the southern border. Take a listen.
The president, I noticed, had note cards at the border when he was doing his briefing there. He also had note cards last Friday with the Italian prime minister. Why does the president rely so heavily on note cards?
You're upset because the president has note cards? You're asking me a question about the president having note cards? I don't think that's. Wait, I'm not speaking to you right now, James. I'm talking to your friend over here, Ed. So thank you so much. But thank you so much for interjecting.
James, very defensive. But look, I think it's a fair question. Why does the president need his note cards?
Well, and, you know, it's really incredible, too. We've seen for years now when the pool photographers have zoomed in on a lot of those note cards, you know, they're saying, you know, you sit here, you do this. The person on your left is this person. The person to your right is that person. So it's really quite, you know, basic, painful stuff here. And it really suggests that he needs so much help. And the reason why they're defensive, you know, it's not like he's sitting there with a briefing note that has, you know, the top line facts and figures that he can refer to. You know, all politicians, all presidents will have that. These are really scripted, big type things for a guy. They are just praying every time he goes out in front of the press that doesn't fall apart.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see what happens on Thursday because Joe Biden is set to deliver the State of the Union address. What can we expect? Will he fall apart?
Well, no, look, I think they've managed to keep him together for things like that, but it's a high-energy, long speech, and so it's a very high-risk environment. My prediction is that he will deliver probably a pretty strong speech. I suspect that he's got, you know, some medical help that allows him to get through this sort of event, but we'll see about that. And what he's going to do is he's going to lay out a really, I suspect, big number of attack lines on the Republicans and start to really kick off the Democrat campaign from there, which will be Friday afternoon our time, and we'll be doing a big package on it Friday night at 8.